So today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make a caramel iced coffee or a caramel iced latte at home. Prior to quarantine, I wasn't a big coffee drinker. I just couldn't really be bothered waking up in the morning earlier than I really need to make the coffee, and this specific recipe is a whole process, and it didn't really matter to me. But since we have all this time on our hands now, I figured I would give it a try. And this recipe took me probably like 2 months to figure out. I tried a bunch of different coffees because there's just so many different brands, brews, types. It took me kind of a while to figure out what I liked, but I'm really happy with the recipe that I found, and I'm really excited to show you guys today. So first, we're just going to talk about all the different components I have laying out here for this recipe. So first, there's the flavoring. So for this recipe specifically, it's caramel, but you can really do this with any flavoring you want. There's mocha, chocolate, hazelnut, totally up to you. But for today, we're doing caramel. So first is caramel sauce. This is the Ghirardelli premium sea salt caramel sauce. This is specifically for ice cream or coffee. This is really good. Caramel to me doesn't really matter as long as it's not like Hershey caramel. I just don't think that's very good. If you don't like Ghirardelli, another one I think is really good is the Torani caramel sauce. That one's specifically for coffee, and it's perfect. Next, there's creamer. This is the Starbucks caramel macchiato creamer. I did not have high hopes for this when I bought it, just because Starbucks coffee I don't personally like. I just think it's very subpar, nothing really special. I actually do really like this. The caramel flavor is really, really good. It's a really thick creamer, and it gets the job done. I definitely recommend this. Next is coffee, the most important part of this coffee recipe. So within coffees, there's two different types of coffee. There's Robusta coffee and Arabica coffee. Arabica coffee is very acidic but low in bitterness. So we find, most people find that when they're new to drinking coffee, they prefer Arabica over Robusta just because it's newer. It's better on their new coffee drinking taste buds. And then there's Robusta coffee, which is very, very bitter but very, very low in acidity. This is the type of coffee that you find in restaurants with the waitresses carrying around the coffee pots. More older people tend to drink Robusta coffee. Within those two types of coffee, there's different ways to brew your coffee. First, there's just straight up good old-fashioned coffee beans. This is the Dunkin' Donut hazelnut coffee beans. I wouldn't use this specifically for this recipe. This is just an example to show you guys that you could use coffee beans to make this recipe. And then there's instant coffee. This is the Folgers Classic Rest instant coffee. For this, you just put a few tablespoons in a cup and you add your hot water and you have coffee. I haven't gotten to try this yet. I really, really do want to try it, so I will have to definitely get to that soon. And then my preferred way is espresso. The reason it's espresso is because I use a Keurig, and Keurigs can't technically make real espresso. This cup is probably filled to about right there. It's just lesser volume, but more flavoring within that lesser volume, so it's a very, very strong coffee. And I use the original Donut Shop regular coffee K-Cups for that. And that is so far has been my favorite way to do this. And then finally, we have milk. Obviously, there's a ton of different types of milk out there: 2%, whole milk, 1%, fat-free, skim milk, almond milk, oat milk, tons and tons and tons of different milks. I don't really think that matters as much. The two that I switch in between are almond milk. This is Almond Breezed unsweetened original almond milk, and then good old-fashioned 2%. I switch in between these two because when I consume too much dairy, I get acne. And I find that switching to the unsweetened almond milk doesn't taste any different because I prefer a very strong caramel taste. So I'll switch those out interchangeably just depending on which one I have at the moment. So then we're gonna get started, and I'm gonna show you how to make it. All you need is a cup with some ice in it. So you're gonna take your espresso and pour that right over your ice. And then you'll take your caramel sauce. Some people prefer to do this before. I switched on and off. So I like doing it in a lot of it because I find that the caramel dissolves better when you pour it right into the coffee. And just for fun, I'm going to take it along the edges. I like a lot of caramel. Next is creamer. I do use both. Like I said, I like a really strong caramel flavor. We're gonna pour just a little dash of that, maybe a little bit more. And finally, milk. I do use a lot of milk in lattes specifically. They do use a lot of milk. You can foam your milk if you want to. I have a Keurig that foams your milk. It's this little cup, and you fill the cup up to the line, which is probably right there. You set it in the Keurig, and it spins it, which creates that nice frothy foam for a latte. But for today's purpose, we're just gonna make a normal iced coffee. So I'm gonna pour that right on top. It is a lot of milk. I'm a newbie. And then I'm gonna take my reusable straw, because if you're using a straw every day, there's no reason for it not to be reusable. And there you have it, caramelized coffee at home.